We are live. This is Reverend Jody Suson, and you are watching Self Cell Care with Dr. Gary Montemayor today. And we're also trying to go live on Instagram, and it looks like we just did that. That is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So, you know, Dr. Gary, there was a very high demand to have you back.
Thank you so much. That feels really good.
Yeah, not only just for me, but it was like, really? He can do that? I'm like, yes, he can. And what is it he can do that for newbies who are coming in to listen today, he can measure what energy healers do, meaning how we heal. Gary, would you kindly give your background again and how you got
Sure.
started for people who have not viewed the show before? Thank you.
Sure. I started off in allopathic medicine, which is modern medicine, and changed careers and became a submarine pilot, from which I was voted in as a fellow of the Royal Geographic Society in London and a fellow of the Explorers Club in New York. So I was, my 12 years as a submersible pilot around the world was a really special time. And an event happened there in the deep sea that we're going to talk about today and how it deals with karma. So,
Whoa, really?
yeah, so that's the first time I've ever told it. It's actually in a book I wrote called Down the Cayman Wall, but it was just a chapter. But we'll talk about that. So after that, I became a diplomat for 12 years here in the Cayman Islands, and then decided to go back into medicine, but energy medicine. And I found quantum medicine. And quantum medicine turned out to be, to me, my calling. It's probably one of the most fascinating, subjects I've ever studied in my life. And it has to do with looking at medicine from a subatomic perspective, where we don't just treat the physical body, we treat the other four bodies as well, which is the vital body, the mental body, the supramental body, which is love, caring, empathy, joy, all the archetypes plus intuition, and the highest state called the bliss body, and that's where the unlimited ground of all being lives, where all possibilities live in this realm. So we'll talk about that today,
Oh, yeah,
and
this sounds amazing.
yeah, and then
I'm gonna
and
see if
then
I can
we'll
present that on the screen, the document that you gave me last time.
sure,
But
sure,
please keep going on. Yeah. So,
yeah. And so yeah, so that's my background, and I went to I studied quantum medicine and got my PhD at a School of Integrated Quantum and Integrated Medicine. Also became a doctor, got my doctorate in natural medicine, and am a holistic health practitioner. Before all that, doing healing touch and spinal flow. And I find
well,
I
you're
have a
not
small
really
practice.
educated very much. So, just say, just a little, right? Just a little.
Yeah, I'm like you. I never stop, but you never stop.
No, I don't stop either. Because it's just too much fun. I mean, I realize that once I get past the one hump that I'm on, I know where I'm going, and anyways, but that's another show. So keep chatting, keep chatting. So tell us. I mean, I can't seem to bring up
All
the
right.
document, but it's fascinating. Most people who watch this show, I sent out that document via text. It's also on the last show that we did a week ago. And it's really quite amazing. And if you do want that document, just, put a comment in the chat, and, we will either text it to you or email it to you, however you wish. Okay. So you sent me, Dr. Gary, 10 talking points. And so
Mm-hmm.
for my listeners, I want you to tell you, I'm a student right now. I'm a student. I am learning like you are. Okay. And so how about if we start with, well, where do you want to start? The first one you said was karma is quantum dust, but you also mentioned how you got started with the submarine. So I'm going to let you lead.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Well, we're going to
really
get into
can.
the submarine because it follows in very much of what we are going to talk about. But karma is energy, not punishment. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things, what folklore has said, that it's our punishment. In quantum medicine, it is energy.
Mm-hmm.
Karma, and the best way that I've ever heard to explain it is karma is past-based conditioning, meaning that our conditioning, which happens in the mental body, is what creates our karma. How we think, how we act, that creates karma. There's nothing else that creates karma.
Like our
And then that
subconscious
karma,
mind.
yeah, it's very simple. We have, in the mental body, we have two chambers. One is thought and one is thinking. And anytime we ever think about anything, when we think about a thought, we can't think about anything else, only thoughts. So these thoughts they're a noun. The word a thought is a noun. It's passive. It's always happening. It always will happen. Thinking is a verb.
Mm-hmm.
It's active and it's a choice. So when we think about a thought and act on it, what's left is, if it's significant enough, what's left is karma. We call it quantum dust. And that dust accumulates, and it accumulates in what we call the vital body, the human biofield. We all know about it, the aura. It in there is the blueprints to every cell in our body. And this quantum dust, as all of a sudden, has inhabited it. And whenever there's, it rings at a certain frequency. And whenever there's an event that happens,
Mm-hmm.
it entangles with it. And we call it the collapse of the wave function, and the reality sets in. And so, for example, let's take a young man that uses an Xbox, and he's been doing it for years because mom just gave it to him, and he's playing war games where he's shooting things all the time. He grows older, and he buys an AK-47, and what happens after that. So he
Yes.
doesn't see people as life. He is conditioned to look at that as a game, and he's going to win that game. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's why we say that karma is past-based conditioning. That's an extreme example, but it can, in all the shades of gray, it can be part of us as well. So karma is not cosmic justice. It's energetic momentum. And we talked about that momentum.
Mm-hmm.
It's what happens when we react to old patterns instead of choosing something new.
So I get that. So it's the broken record that's playing over and over in the subconscious mind. And the karma then is, so people are seeing how I learn now. I'm actually kind of slow.
No, not at all.
I mean, I like step by step.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's that broken record, right? And it's almost like a GPS that has gone not necessarily rogue, but it's taking you on this hamster wheel, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so until we clean out the subconscious mind and do a reset, then we are going to relive that. Is that close?
That's right. Every emotion, every belief, every choice leaves a frequency behind.
Mm-hmm.
That quantum dust lives in your energy field and not your brain. It lives in the field.
Mm-hmm.
And the quantum dust, of course, lives in the vital body. So whenever we have this rumination, this constant thinking, we're thinking about a thought. We can't get rid of it. We can't let it go. That has consequences.
Mm-hmm. It certainly does. I mean, it takes people in
Yeah.
a downward spiral. Um, you know, it's interesting because that really gives a lot of credence to the work that I do.
Yes, it
Because
does.
if we're not doing a reset on the subconscious mind, we're, forgive me, doomed to repeat old patterns,
Absolutely.
old behaviors. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
And karma isn't just emotional. It can express itself physically as well through
Mm-hmm.
fatigue, illness, and repeated life situations. And that's the same thing when we're conditioned to play that record over and over that you talked about, that,
Mm-hmm.
it keeps skipping and coming back and coming back. that has consequences, and that consequences are the result of that. That's the karma associated with that.
So I want to back up on something so that people understand it, because I'm going to repeat it, because I think it's, for some people, they understand this in a nanosecond, and then we have other listeners that may need a little bit more second grade. So I'm going to second grade, okay, just for the moment. You said
Sure.
that karma lives basically in the biofield, which is out here, right? It's, years
Right.
out in our thoughts, which is also what Dr. Patrick teaches, right? Which is what I
Right.
teach. And what I think that some people may not connect the dots on is that if they're repeatedly getting a disease, okay, or, pick one, diabetes, cancer, what have you, you know, they could be getting sick all the time with different types of viruses. That thought virus, right, the subconscious mind, is in the biofield. I understand it, and you can correct me if I understand it incorrectly. I understand it's like about 7 years out, and it gets closer and closer and closer to the physical body, and that's when it becomes the disease. Do you understand it differently, or, because I like student. There you go.
Yeah, I didn't know about the timeline, but
Mhm,
I, like you, am a student. This
mhm,
this is, this whole paradigm of working into the subatomic world associated with the world of healing that you do. We've come together, but it's a learning experience for all of us. And so that the fact that it lives in the human biofield is going to become very clear, and because when we're talking about ancestral karma, that lives in the supramental field.
mm.
The
Now, if
blueprints
I
to
look
the
at the
supramental are
supramental,
there,
where is
right?
the supramental on your chart?
Above, it's the star, right above the mental body.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And that star is that supramental has a closet door. And inside that closet door is reincarnation, karma, ancestral wisdom, and things that we call morphic resonance. They live in that closet door. And when we die, the vital body, the mental body, and the supramental body combine to create something called the quantum monad. And that monad is what resonates. And when you're doing channeling, that's who you're talking to. That's who you're channeling. It's that energy and that karma from, that's up there from the vital body, all of a sudden becomes, what can be channeled all the way down to the new person's who entangled, body, to the vital body, all the way to their DNA. And
Wow.
that's a connection. Remember, the connection goes from the vital body, where the blueprints are, to our DNA and gene expression. So that's where it is. So that's what we call the quantum monad. So after death, the vital body, the mental body, and the supramental body survive to carry karmic memory until it's healed or transcended. So
Yeah, it's
ancient karma lives
interesting.
on.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have a good friend, and she'll tell me whether or not I'm allowed to use her name. Okay, but um, we have lived many lives together, many, many, many lives, and she decided to go see someone to see what the hiccups were in our past lives. And apparently we both did a few curses.
Oh, you're a witch.
Yeah,
That
now
makes
I don't
sense.
aspire to witch, right? And probably did in a past life, right?
Right.
And but I don't now. I only aspire to the divine.
Very
So
good.
we
Yes.
had some cleanup to do.
Yeah.
Because I had things that were not healing on my body, and the same with her. And I'm like,
Hmm.
that just seems odd. And then she goes, well, I think it might be this. And so we removed these thought forms, which, look, people, if you're,
Uh-huh.
forgive the words, but if you're talking shit about people, that's the same thing as a curse. because your thoughts
Oh
become
yeah.
things. So I'm
Oh
not like
yeah.
talking witchy at all. I'm telling you, every time you say something mean to someone, about someone, have a mean thought, you are cursing them. Okay. And if you did it in the past, it's got to get cleared up now, especially in this new paradigm, because
Yeah. I have a great story about that very thing.
please, please,
Yeah.
please.
There was somebody that was very a manager that was very, very mean to an employee, and the employee, this humble little employee, just took it, and it was a castigation in front of everybody.
Mm.
Uh, the next morning, a tree had fell on her car,
The one
and
who,
she
the
came back.
employee or the person who was speaking
The
ill?
person who was doing speaking ill,
Mm.
and she came back knowing that she was a spiritual person, knowing that that was what went wrong, and everything cleaned itself up. So very interesting about that. It's all about vibration.
So it really
That's
is.
right, Chris.
So, this is Chris. She says it's all about vibration and the spark. Speaking it brings it into the physical.
Absolutely.
So, she is not with me right this moment because they can get a little chatty, but I have two beautiful birds,
Yes.
Fagala and Tinkerbell. Fagala is the reincarnation of my grandfather. And he was part of the Holocaust. And he, when I was 7, I don't know how old he was, but when I was 7, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And my mom stopped her vacation in Mexico, flew to Miami to go see him, but he took his life prior to.
Oh, dear.
Mm-hmm. And do you know what his last words were?
What's that?
I don't want to be a burden in the family. Bird in the family. Burden,
Right.
bird in the family.
Yes,
And what did he come back as? A bird in the family.
that's right.
Because the universe doesn't understand not. Now,
Nope.
so now the story was not made to make you feel sad, but rather to understand that your words, even after you pass, are being carried throughout lifetimes. And so I work very closely with Fagala to reframe her thoughts. Yes, as a bird, I do that.
Yes.
Chris does too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are entangled even after death. Okay. So we're entangled closely with family, then friends, then acquaintances. Because
Mm-hmm.
when we say we're all entangled, we're all connected. We have closer connections that we vibrate with from even afterlife and past lives. So we tend to congregate with that group and do that way. So that's very interesting. But one of the other things that when I think about this, I think about you, is that there's a way to get rid of bad karma. There's a way to
Okay.
burn it
Okay,
off.
let's talk. Because I
Yeah,
have my ways, but I want your
but your
way.
way is the same way as mine. No, it's not me. I'm doing the science on it. I know that how you channel and energetically do this, but I'm going to explain it so people will understand.
Okay.
Let's talk about the heart. When we're an embryo,
Mhm.
we have something called the sinoatrial node, and it's in the heart, and it creates the first heartbeat. It
Wow.
also creates the first electromagnetic field. And as it's doing that and it's beating, it's sending a Morse code to the endoderm, the mesoderm, and the ectoderm to be able to create the nervous system, the digestive system, the tegmentary system, the skeletal system. It does all that through this Morse code. So it has this really incredible power to do that. And so when you get older, you don't need that anymore, but it's still sending out Morse code to your body in a way. And what it does is that if that karmic dust is is in your vital body. It's your heart unknowingly is sending the Morse code to the body with this energetic field, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's important to know. But there's also a gland in your brain called the pineal gland.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about it last time. And it is where we have a quantum antenna. When it's stimulated, it's made of crystals. It sends up an antenna, and then we connect with higher states of consciousness. But in order to get those crystals going, in order to create this coherence,
Mm-hmm.
we have to have what's called heart-brain coherence, where the heart talks more to the brain than the brain talks to the heart naturally. Okay, and the way that you get there is through a breathing pattern. Breathing pattern, it's either 5 breaths in, 5 breaths out. It's even. I do 7 breaths in, 7 breaths out. And then you put your attention on your heart. Where you put your attention, where you put your energy. And energy automatically goes to the heart. And then what you do is you pretend you're breathing through your heart. So you're doing those 7 breaths, those 7 seconds in and 7 seconds out. And this is where it starts to create a torus field, is when we think about any of the archetypes: love, caring, empathy, joy, appreciation. This is the physiology of intuition. This is where we get intuitive. And intuitive, like yourself.
The torus field does this for us?
Because the torus field
yeah.
The torus field is different.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm so excited.
The torus field is different than the human biofield. It's another field, but it emanates from the heart. In fact, it's 5,000 times stronger than the torus field that comes from the body, for the rest of the body.
Wow.
And including the mind. It's amazing field of strength. And the reason we know that, so we can't measure the human biofield. For some reason, we know it's there. We can feel it. When you do your healings, I'm sure you're feeling the energy around the person. It's there, but we can't really measure it
all the time, actually, because you can get really close to somebody. You walk up really close, and they can feel you, and you slowly separate the two bodies,
right?
And they can feel the difference as you come closer in and further apart, and you cannot deny the energy. Right. I mean, it's there. So, yeah. So that's, we may not be measuring it with.
So what we've done,
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So this little 3-minute process of creating this torus field burns off karma slowly. So you got to do it a lot. And the other thing that happens is when you have a channeler or a healer and somebody really special, they're automatically in there. They're vibrating in a higher state, and they're able to synchronize. And if you did measurements, I bet I could measure your breath and their breath and your heartbeat and their heartbeat. They'd be dead the same. Right. And that is something I've proven in my clinic with me. And I thought that is amazing. And it's just, you get into this rhythm, and it's what happens. We sync together. And so that's what burns off karma. And it also, there's something that I alluded to last time we spoke, and you commented on it. I don't know a lot about it. I just know it exists. It's called the violet flame. It is something that burns karma, ancestral karma. And it works strictly in the supermental to burn that karma in that little closet where we have reincarnation and karma.
So do you remember this card I gave you?
I do.
It's not coming in very well, but for those it's better when I hold it back. I'm still learning this new technology, but we have the vortex in here, which has 3 third eyes that are filled with the violet flame. And then up here is also another violet flame. And of course, over here is the Christ white light. But the violet flame is infused in this. And so there are times, here's a little secret, that when someone's energy is really dirty, I just pop them into the vortex and let God clean them up. Boom.
Yeah.
It's easier. I'm just going to say.
Yeah.
sometimes that
Okay,
energy.
so yeah. So when you do your healings, there's
Mm-hmm.
another concept that comes in, and it's called Dharma.
Mm-hmm.
Dharma is the alignment with archetypal energies, love, compassion, truth. It's a soul's music. And the way
Mm-hmm.
I would explain Dharma and karma to somebody is in an analogy.
Okay.
Imagine you go into a symphony hall and it's infinite. And in that symphony hall, it's a library of every score of music that's ever been played and that will ever be played and is being created right now. It's in this library. And in this symphony hall, there's the orchestra pit. And right above the orchestra pit, there's special scores of music right above your head. And those scores of music, you can't choose. They choose you. So when you raise your wand for the orchestra, this beautiful music starts to play of your life. That's your life. However, if your string section out of tune or the oboes, accuse somebody of not being in tune, and you start to get something called entropy. This is a tendency toward disorder. It's also a tendency, what we call entropy, disorder. And it's also known as chaos. And so that's karma when we talk about it in the world of subtle energies. So Dharma, very special. It's like I said, it's alignment with the higher consciousness, the archetypals: love, caring, empathy, joy, appreciation, gratitude. It's the soul's music. And so that's a very important thing to know, that our goal as individuals, our goal as healers, is to bring our client and ourselves into Dharma, into that state that we know is a higher state of consciousness.
So I have lots of thoughts. What else is new?
Please. I know. I want to hear.
So, gosh, I don't even know. So let's going back to, you said the violet flame burns off karma, right? And
Right.
so when you say the violet flame burns off karma, it's the energy of bringing in. So the violet flame is about healing, right? There's a whole website on it for those that don't know. There's an organization, an association in Schaumburg, Illinois, for anybody who wants to look it up. It's Saint Germain's violet flame.
That's right. Saint Germain.
Yeah.
Remember that.
And so what is it, and maybe you said you knew or didn't know, but what is it about the violet flame? Is it the healing energy that you're choosing to bring into your field to release karma? Do we have to be intentional about it, I assume? Or how does that work?
Yeah, from what I've read, it's very focused on that, knowing that it is the karma that's associated with the supermental body. It's ancestral karma. Okay, so when the channelers are the ones that can see and feel that a lot of times, because we as mere mortals don't always know what's going on or why we're getting ill, but the channeler does. There is a pretty negative karma here, and we're going to have to do a violet flame ceremony of some kind that may create that. So
Yes, so
yeah.
this is the place that I was referring to in Schaumburg, and they have everything on the Saint Germain violet flame. So you're actually suggesting perhaps that we actually do a healing for the earth using Saint Germain and his energy to pull off the karma, because we do have a lot of bad karma on, and part of it's like going back to what you're saying, it's not a punishment. It's the fact that we have these programmed belief systems that are presenting outcomes that we don't want.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
So we have a question here
Uh-huh.
from Chris Fetchula. She says, I have a question. In thinking about the heart and the energy it emits, can size matter? So physically, the larger the heart, the bigger the possibility for a larger burst of energy or frequency? Great question.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that purity would probably be more the uh, the uh, the driving force behind the amount of energy it can emit. Um, what I mean by that, it's not the heart size itself; it's the sinoatrial node rhythm in Morse code being sent. And children, can be the most pure, and they emit. You can just feel them sometimes. There's just this. You just want to be by them because they have this beauty about them, and
Yeah.
they're emanating this field. So yeah, it's not size; it's more energy. So, and it's a sinoatrial node, and not the but the heart, but the torus field, the field that's created, can go out to up to 9 feet and be measured by special, very sensitive equipment. So that's really incredible. And so one of the things that we talked about when we talked about the vital body is this: the vital body responds to the torus field as well, and it'll start to grow. But when we react to something or someone, that particular field becomes less energy and more chemistry. It becomes less wave and more particle. Okay. And it shrinks. And sometimes, it shrinks to where there's pieces missing. And then that's where we start to see symptoms and disease and things like that.
Mhm.
And I measure that with a BioWell gas discharge visualization. We actually can to measure the human biofield, and it's like taking a X-ray of it, and we're able to see it and see where it is. But when you're in heart-brain coherence, when your sinoatrial node is having more heart rate variability, and the code changes, it's communicating with the rest of the body. And the only way we can get in there is be in the present moment, because when we live in the past, we're living in a conditioned life,
Yeah.
and
And I
living
would
in
like,
the future
yeah,
doesn't. Yeah. Mhm.
doesn't help either. So I keep on going back. So, I always teach without having your knowledge in official training that the heart needs to lead the brain. And
Absolutely.
in, yeah, but you're also saying, really, I mean, if I understand this correctly, the heart has its own brain. Is that right? And like
Yes,
it's,
it does.
mhm.
Yeah, it has
Can you
about
talk more about
80,000 neurites, which is like,
that?
sure, sure. Yeah, it has more communication with the brain than the brain does the heart. Our gut also has a communication with our heart and our brain.
Yes.
Gut's becoming very important. Because it's we're there's the bacteria and the gut bacteria and things talk to us. So yeah, that's really important. And when we need the heart to talk to the brain in order to have coherence, in order to get that antenna to go up, that quantum
Mhm.
antenna to be able to connect to the bliss body, to be able to have downward causation where everything starts to flow, down through the supramental, through the mental to the vital body and heal. That's really important. So that is, in particular, very important that the heart has communication with the brain.
Yeah, and it's interesting, you mentioned Morse code, right?
Hmm.
So, and that the torus field, did I understand this correctly, that the torus field is kind of sending out a Morse code, right?
Well,
Um,
it's actually the sinoatrial node sends out the code,
the sign,
and the
okay, thank
code,
you.
yeah, yeah, the sinoatrial node is something that, like I said, it's something that creates our heartbeat. and
Okay.
uh, and when we pay attention to it, when we go at it with a heightened emotion and a focused intention, the sinoatrial node starts to misfire. But that misfiring is what we want, because it's called heart rate variability, and the variation changes of the heartbeat. And when it does, we're in a state of intuition. This is the chemistry of intuition. So heart math creates heart rate variability. In other words, you have the PQ or ST waves that are in the EKG. When
Hmm.
they're not perfect and they're varying, you're actually younger. So when I measure my clients and I said your biological age is 50 and you're 49, And then I say, let's do this breathing pattern and remeasure. 6 minutes later, we remeasure, and they're 10 years younger. Just because I said, you're a shallow breather and your heart can't talk to your brain unless you start to breathe. You need to breathe. We all need to breathe.
Right. And I spent many years holding my breath, and I still have an opportunity to become a better breather. Gary Brecka teaches breathing. I've been to a couple conferences where he was teaching. I'm hanging my hat right now on Morse code, and I'm going to hopefully show you why. I'm looking right now for the video. And while I'm looking for the video, I will share my story. So I just moved to Kennesaw, Georgia. And when I walked past this one garage, so we had found an apartment because we couldn't find a house. And there was a string of garages, and here it is. Let me just make sure this is the right one before I just start playing it. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to share this, and I talk about Morse code, and then I'm going to tell you the download that I just got. Okay. Let me see if it does image. Nope. Cancel. So my dad came to me. And so I'm just not having a good time trying to present this file. How about share screen? Window. Here we go. Okay. So my dad and my mom are very present in my life. And I did this video.
Andrew noticed this and said, spirit's in the light bulb. And he goes, oh, it's probably just electricity. But we know it's spirit. So
because it's never done this before that I've seen. I walk by here a lot.
Okay, so what do we think is being said? It's Morse code for some. Morse code. That's my father's name. Right. Morris. That's hilarious.
Oh my God.
That's funny, Theo.
That's fantastic. Oh, the bird.
No, I'm sorry. That is Morse code. You're just letting us know that he's just letting us know he's here. So he did Morse code. All right, everybody. Bye.
Okay. So now I want to tell you what the download is. So let me go back to the notes because I'm a student. It says, you said the how do I say that sinoatrial node? Is that right?
Sinoatrial.
Sinoatrial node. Okay. It's the first electrical spark of incarnation. And you said where consciousness collapses into form and begins to organize the body via DNA activation. And so what the download that I got, I mean, we know that we live in multiple timelines. And so I got the download as you were speaking about this, that when my dad came in, via that light, it's because he's alive in another timeline, in body, right? In body, in another timeline and or dimension. And he's using his sinoatrial node to send a Morse code.
Right.
And so we can't communicate, right, on time dimensions.
It's a heart connection. It's very strong. Yeah, that's amazing. I've had a situation where I was doing some energy work, and I saw a light, looked like a lightning coming from my heart to this person. It was just like weaves of light going through there, like 3 bolts of lightning. And I just had to jump out. I said, what was that? And it was so real. I could, it wasn't imagined. So I thought that was, that's really crazy. I've not found anybody to explain that one to me, but I know, it was very powerful.
So the lightning came out from where again?
From my heart. And it's like, it looks like a Tesla coil, the when you the Frankenstein movies where they have the little lightning going across the 2 poles. That's what it my heart to my client's body.
Okay, I'm going in. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like you sent them an energetic template for what they needed and it had to come from your heart. So it went straight through. Does that resonate?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That does.
Yeah, you sent them an energetic template so they could do whatever it is that they needed to do in that point in time. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Woo!
Yeah. It's pretty interesting too. So, yeah, I was going to back up a second and tell you about what happened in the deep sea.
Please? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I was a submarine pilot and I was diving on a shipwreck with an engineer and his wife. And there was only 3 of us in a small, tiny sub. And we were approaching a shipwreck at about 800 feet down the Cayman Wall. And I had written about it in a book that was published in 2011 called Down the Cayman Wall. And in that book, I didn't realize what I had seen, even though I had described it.
Mm-hmm.
And we all 3 saw it. I didn't till now know what it was. And as we approached the stern of the shipwreck, there was a undulating green glow. It looked like a tube that was just undulating. It's like no sea creature I've ever seen. Okay. So we looked at it for a while in complete amazement and awe. We couldn't even talk. And I looked at it and I said, it's got energy because it's glowing green luminol. It looks like luminol, right? This green color.
Right.
And I turned on the lights, which were about, and I'm 3 feet away from this thing. I turned on the lights, which are about 1,000 watts, and it was gone. Literally, it did. And I mean, lights come on instantaneously. This was faster than that. It was gone, meaning that it never existed, because when you put on 1,000 watts of light in the deep sea, there's all sorts of suspended particles. And if anything swims away, the particles move. So we weren't able to see any of that. And it was a big enough thing that the particles would have, it was like dust in the air, the suspended dust. And what I found out was 2 things. One, it was non-local, meaning that it was not obeying the laws of physics. It was obeying quantum law.
Yeah,
and it was
I got it.
Meaning that it jumped from this reality to a next reality. And so recently I've been saying, if that's the case, what is it? And I remembered that not long before that, there was a diver that lost his life. And I used to pass his remnants of his scuba gear at about 600 feet on the way down. And I remember saying, oh my gosh, and it's a whole story to that in my book. But I said, this is his quantum monad. And I say, now, wait a minute, don't get carried away. Mm-hmm. I said, how, if it comes from from the quantum world, whenever we look or measure something, it collapses into a particle. Remember the double slit experiment?
Yeah.
That when we look at it, it changes reality. So I said, this can't be. But then recently I heard that mirrors, if you put that mirrors will fool that world. And when you can't see inside the sub unless we put lights on inside, it looks like a mirror from outside. Oh. So, subatomic particles couldn't see that we could see them. And the monad didn't know that we could see it. So we were actually able to see it. And so that's when I jumped out of my bed at 3 a.m. and drew up this, what we've been showing you, which is the quantum medicine primer. That's when I jumped out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning from a dead sleep to come and draw that up. And it hasn't changed since. I just drew it up and it was going through because I knew I had, come up with the actual being maybe the only person in the world that's ever seen, besides those 2 other people, or ever interpreted as being a quantum monad. And the professor I studied under, Amit Goswami, who's put this together in quantum monad, says it's a context. It's not real. It doesn't have energy. I disagree. I think it does. The human soul does have energy. I think it is, the emanation of the vital body, the mental body, and the supramental body, all in the one, living in the beautiful bliss body, engulfed by the bliss body. But it is by itself, what reincarnates into us, what you channel, and I was able to see it, and that got me excited. That's when I started to really get into this and know that I had direction, I had purpose. And the focus was to be able to share with people much like you, so you can enlighten me on your perspective, because I see it as energy and frequency.
Came in from another dimension is what you're saying, right? I mean, and
yeah.
I have this, okay, so I can't even tell you how many stories I have. I mean, it's almost countless, where years ago, living in Kennesaw, a bird came into the bedroom with the doors closed and left the bedroom with the doors closed from the outside, like not my right. And we have pictures of it. We have pictures of the bird. Get there 1 second, gone the next. Yesterday, I'm outside on the driveway, and a beetle drops out of a dimension out of nowhere, flat on its back, dead. Okay? I don't know where the beetle came from. You can say, oh, it came from the sky. Okay, maybe, maybe not. It's dead. It's clearly dead. So I turn it over, okay? I talk to it, and then it flies away.
Yeah.
Like, and everyone's okay. You know how people speak about, let's talk about, what is it? Cockroaches, right? If you have one, you have a whole family. Would you agree to that from a 3D perspective?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. From a 5D perspective, I always get one cockroach, okay, to send me an energetic message. So it comes through the dimensions. We don't have any cockroaches in the house, not a one, okay? Or no, we have a cockroach in the house at a point in time to send me an energetic message about resilience, because that's what cockroaches send a message about. It's about resilience and family and abundance, quite frankly, if you can believe it. So this has been my life. This is how I absolutely know without a question that these things are happening in other dimensions, and so when I do divine intervention, okay, we lay out white sheets or light colored sheets, and we do the DI work, the divine intervention work. And when you're done, you have the disease state come through the other dimensions and drops out of the dimension onto the sheet. And the sheet was clean before. And you have this like thing, and it never looks the same. It always looks different. And it's this manifestation of the disease that's come out of the etheric field, the biofield, and out of the physical body onto the sheet. There's no question in my mind. None. Because it's not like it happened once. It's all the time. So if I'm doing work in night school, okay, which is while I'm sleeping, and I go to bed at night, and before I go to bed, I ask, do my prayers to work on certain things. You better believe that I'm changing the white sheets the next day, because I've got those disease states on the sheets in the bed. It comes from another dimension because it's in our thoughts. And so we're pulling the negative thought forms out of the subconscious mind to allow people to heal, because it's those subconscious thoughts and it's gross. I mean, if you ever saw some of these manifestations that landed on the floor or in the bed, it's gross. But so would a negative.
Imagine, yeah.
Yeah. So did I just
Yeah.
kind of shock you with that last one or what?
No, it's good. It's good. Yeah.
I mean, so that when I trained with Dr. Susan Rossi, who was a chiropractor and a divine interventionist, that's what she taught us. And some people are doing this naturally and don't understand the crap that's on their floor or in their bed sheet when they wake up in the morning. And I'm like, change that sheet. Yeah. Because if you're
Yeah.
a person, you want to get that out and clean up your space. When I clean the house, I'm bringing in God. So I'm not just cleaning the physical space. I'm cleaning the energetic space and asking God to clear negative energy as I'm cleaning off the dust or anything else.
That's right.
How does that resonate?
Yeah.
What do you think
Yeah.
about that?
Well, when your vibration rises, karma can't follow. Okay. It can't follow. And you change the station. In other words, you cleaning and purifying and everything is that you're changing the vibration of the room, correct? And when you do that, karma can't follow. And so that's really important. People burn sage and things like that. And if it's a really bad karmic event, people will burn the sheets because they know that there's no washing can get rid of them. It depends on the level, So I've heard of that as well.
Well, so then you probably have heard of burning letters. No?
Yes, very powerful too as well, right? Yeah. Letters are energetic, they're a frequency. Burn them and they no longer exist.
Right. And so that's why I had some things I wrote or were written to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about an experience that I would like to leave in the past. I have a ceramic pot with a lid, and I put on a vibration, a binaural beat. I run those binaural beats in the frequency of love, and I burn those letters, and I transmute those letters up to source and replace it with Saint Germain's violet flame and the Christ consciousness. And
That's beautiful.
someone, one of my clients asked me the other day, she wants to burn the pictures of a late spouse. And, it was not a healthy relationship. And the person wanted to just throw them in the garbage. I'm like, don't do it. You got to transmute that energy, right? It's really important to transmute energy to source so they can clean it up and bring back the love and light. Right?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Chris just said, we're constantly manifesting our reality. Creating from a high vibrational state is a game changer. The trick is to stay in that higher vibrational state. She's right.
Beautiful.
And
that's right.
I have a question for you, Gary. And I suspect you can answer it. If you can't, that's totally fine. So we're having a lot of geomagnetic storms, which makes what Chris is speaking about, the trick is to stay in that high vibrational state, especially in the light of geomagnetic storms that are putting a ton of radiation on the earth and just shifting our energy. Can you speak to that? Is that something?
That's something that has been shown to change moods, behaviors, and the more powerful it is, the more influential it is on our psyche. And because of that, we're looking for our bodies are amazing in that it can heal itself and it knows how to protect itself. But but it takes energy to do that. So if we have a lot of energy and our biofield is big and we're getting hit by EMF, solar flares, electromagnetic fields from other places, we have enough energy. We can, our body can handle it. But when our energy is low or, in a state where it gets overwhelmed, then it affects us.
Well,
I
because we're
know,
depleted, right?
people.
We're depleted.
Yeah,
We're depleted
yeah,
is what the connection's not super
that's
awesome.
exactly.
Yeah. So
Yeah, we become depleted.
yeah, when someone's depleted, I would suggest that they go outside and ground, right? Like connect the feet to the earth.
Absolutely,
Hmm. What else would you suggest?
absolutely.
Hmm.
Red light. Get up in the morning, see the first light before 7:30 in the morning. Let it cover you, and also sunset. That's when red light comes, where don't have the bad UV rays. Red light is really needed to stimulate the mitochondria and give us energy. Grounding is needed to be able to do many things, but one of them is to prevent the Rayleigh effect inside the blood, where blood starts to connect together like poker chips, and we need to separate them. And the only way you do it is through grounding, and grounding can do it in just a few seconds. It's that fast. And if you live in a place where you can't take your shoes off and go outside, put your hand on a tree, because the reason why is because I've done the measurement where I put I grounded one side of the voltmeter and put the other side on the tree, and it would go. It would be as good as it was walking on the earth. In fact, even better, because you're grounded. I have one story associated with grounding and clearing up everything. I was up 2 years ago in the Arctic Circle with my wife and a friend, and we had been flew up there and we're driving all night. And 4 o'clock in the morning, we get home, no sleep. We go to this place to get some hot springs, way up near the Arctic Circle. And so we're in there thinking, man, we're just going to crash after this. No way. We became so grounded because the electromagnetic north was right almost there. And we became so chatty. And for the next 10 hours, we couldn't stop talking, laughing, and being what humans should always be. And that's because we grounded in this most profound way, in the most powerful spot that I found. And these hot springs, where we're actually, touching the electromagnetic field of the earth. So it's very powerful.
So Chris is saying, just like grounding an electrical circuit, our bodies are fields, and also circuits require grounding.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Every cell in our body has about 1.5 volts in it, and we have trillions of cells. So we have a lot of voltage, that's there, but they discharge when they can't be grounded. We're meant to walk the earth barefooted. We're meant, yeah. And remember how good you feel when you come out of a little swim in the ocean? It's like, wow, this feels great. It's because, that even the ocean's even more powerful because it's salt water and conducts electricity, and we're grounding really deep in there as well. So yeah, very, very, very important. Yeah. Thank you, Chris, for that question. That's amazing. That statement, I mean.
Yeah. I want to go back to the red light, and I know we're kind of running out of time. Red light in the morning and sunset. So are you sharing with the listeners that the most red light is in the morning and the sunset, it's at higher?
Yeah, I think that, yeah, you have all the spectrums of light during the day, but ultraviolet light becomes more harmful. So that's when it's weak. So we don't get the full impact of that. So yeah, I think it's safer in the mornings and the evenings.
Got it. That is cool, because I'm out there with the birds in the morning and the evening. So I'm
good.
Because birds, so I want to say your animals need this too. Okay. So if you have animals, that are not getting enough outdoor time, take care of them too. Okay. Because, I made the mistake, I will tell you, with my 2 birds. We moved to a new home and we didn't have an enclosed porch. So and so when we had the enclosed porch, they were outside in the enclosed porch almost all day long. So you
Wow.
want to think about what is really good for your pet bodies, the human bodies. It's usually the same.
Yeah.
And yeah. And I know that we're going to do another show because you're doing some research in July in Mexico. Do you want to tell people about that, or do we want to
Yeah.
pause on it
Yeah,
now?
sure. No, absolutely. Absolutely. I've taken a group of clients to Mexico to a clinic where they treat severe PTSD. They treat depression. They treat Parkinson's, and they do this with the most powerful psychedelic in the world, ibogaine, along with 5-MeO-DMT, also known as bufo. And it is the way they do it. It's in a clinic, so it's monitored 24/7. It's also holistic, so there are times when you're not healing that you can go for long walks on the beach or meditate. There's sound baths going on, so it's a really good place to go. But I'm going because when you do those, when you are clinically subjected to those psychedelics, you go to the bliss body, the highest state of consciousness, where the Tibetan monks go, and you go for near-death experiences, and that's what you see where you go. But a lot of times people say that when they go there and they see things, they get scared. And the reason is, if we have a house, and the house is your ego, and it's all organized and clean depending on who you are, but down below is the basement. And that's where we kept all those suppressed memories of trauma. Yep. So what happens is when you take these psychedelics, you open that door up, and what comes out is that you have to face these things. And a lot of people, they freak out, they get scared. And the reason why is because your ego's trying to protect you, say, that's dangerous, run away. Do what you can, but you can't, because you are in this state. So they give you 5-MeO-DMT, which is the only psychedelic that dissolves the ego. So it's no longer the protection there, and you're able to just deal with it. Everything's coming through, and you're able to just deal with it. And every trauma that you've had, and they have a 97% success rate with PTSD, severe PTSD, after 3 sessions, and we're there for 7 days. So wow. It is amazing. Yes, ma'am. In fact, it's gotten so powerful, and a lot of these veterans that are going down there, it's got the state of Texas now agreeing to do research from the finest universities because of how powerful it is. And they're saying, no, there's a new paradigm. We got to stop thinking about these things being bad. They are good. And the latest study in Stanford said that our brain can regress in age 5 years for every treatment. So doing a 7-day treatment, you're talking about your brain going back in age, and it's because new connections and new neural pathways being created. And that was done at Stanford. And the professor and the scientist that did that study calls it the Benjamin Button of the mind. So it just regresses your brain. It becomes very, very clean and clear. And it's powerful. It's powerful. So I'm writing a paper on it. It is going to be a very interesting time. I'm doing a lot of measurements before and after electroencephalograms. I'm doing also heart rate variability and heart math and things like that during these sessions. So I'm going to be really interested to see how that works out.
Well, I want in on that. We'll talk after the show. There's one other thing. I had sent you a private chat. Where can people buy your book? And is there a link, or like how can we do that?
Okay, so I will be. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, so we would love to know where your book is, so we can have people buy your book and all of that. Is it somewhere where people can buy?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. The thing about the 3 books I have is that one of them is about the deep sea diving that I told you about. And it's very fascinating, and a lot of people like it because it's just a good read. True story about giant animals down there. But the most recent books are very scientific, and most of my friends say, that's so detailed, it's just so hard to get through, because when you write these things, to science. They want to hear everything that you've done, what the humidity is in the air. How did you prove that? What frequency were the lights at? How did you prove that? So it goes on pages and pages and pages of this kind of stuff. So I am working on a book about quantum medicine, and it's gonna contain all about the 5 bodies, and everything that we talk about, is going to be in that book. And so, so we'll be able to do that. But Down the Cayman Wall, very successful book of mine. So
Are
yeah,
these
so
other
I
no, that
that's
one's
not me.
These two are.
Yeah, those two are. Yeah.
So I'm going to buy these books. So The Energetic Evolution, Exploring the Quantum Realm of Healing, and then Down the Cayman Wall. Now, are these in audio and Kindle? Looks like you do have Kindle on one of them for sure.
Kindle on one, but not the other yet.
Okay, not a worry. People, buy these books. Like, let's support Gary. Let's educate ourselves, right? Become better students. It's amazing. It's amazing what you're sharing. I love the fact that you're bringing science to this. And if anybody, I know we have several people watching on different platforms. If anybody has any questions before we end the podcast, ask your questions now. I know Chris is always watching. Christopher Silva, nail a question for us if you got one.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's an acupuncturist out in Illinois. Really,
vital body medicine. Love it. Yeah.
Very good man. Thank you, Chris, for everything. And so we're going to have you back in July to talk about your findings. And I know we could probably go into more of what you gave me. There's so much more to talk about. And if I could ask one last question. So because I'm looking through my notes that I have from you. So that what we can do based upon what I did. Oh yeah. So I did something really naughty with my soul spiritual brother, Rajai, when I was in Egypt. Okay. So Mary Magdalene came in, and Christ, and they said, by the way, we know you want, and we'll just say fill in the blank. I'm not going to tell the story because I'm not permitted to share. He said, but you're going to have to clean up this event that you and Rajai did when you were in Egypt. And so we did. And I asked Mary Magdalene, I said, is it complete? And how she answered me was by taking the electrical grids down in the house and putting them back up again 4 times in a row. So we actually went back to Egypt, fixed it up, and then we got the signal from the universe. It was complete by taking the electrical grids down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Boom, 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 boom. Mm-hmm.
Right. That's interesting.
So, and then, of course, I got the message I was waiting for 30 minutes later, also honoring the fact that we did the energy work. So we can actually clean up our past. Would you agree? I mean, because I think we can just go to wherever we need to go to if we're trained energy healers to go into any part of the universe, back, past life or future, and clean up the karma, clean up the dust is what I'm saying.
Even dust that has been there for a long time. We're talking about going back into multiverse, going back into, this is, a superposition where every possibility lives there. So yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And you're not your story.
Right. You're not your story. Right. Just like people are not their disease states, right? Or their behavior.
Yeah. You're the one choosing the frequency to live in.
He says, if karma, sorry. Let me do that one. If karma is a problem that we ourselves create, then do we also subconsciously create solutions to solve the problem? I'll let you answer that first.
Sure, and that's really good. Yeah, if karma is a problem that we create ourselves, right? Yeah, we can just by trying to get into a higher state of consciousness. In other words, yeah, in order to do that. However, let's talk about how we got into this subconscious programming. When from the ages of 4 to 8 years old, we were in the alpha state mostly. And the alpha state is where we are downloading everything in our environment. Okay. And when we download this, we have no boundaries, and we have no ability to say no. It's just coming in. Okay. And as we do it, it forms the basis of our subconscious. Everything there. Now that is, they say, show me the 7-year-old and I'll show you the man or the woman, because that download has already happened. And so automatically we've created this subconscious that's there. And then, if you live, or you're conditioned to be able to solve problems, and these problems, and subconscious starts to rise, and you deal with it, yeah, you're going to be able to deal with it. But not everybody has that ability. Not everybody can think their way out of these things. Sometimes it takes getting to a higher state of consciousness. And that's why we talk about, practices like, heart-brain coherence and things like that. But it's harder to think your way out of those.
So I would agree with you. And so I'll add to that, or, some ways to think your way out of it would be using binaural beats, the frequency of love, things like brain tap, right? To start doing a reset on the mind so that you can slow your mind down. People are often trying to fast track everything and go fast. And I'm like, slow the down, right? You need to slow down in order to speed up, because your brain is actually, you're missing bits of information that you actually need in order to accomplish whatever it is that you're setting out to do. So with that being said, I know we're over time. I'm sorry, but not so much. I'm sorry, but not sorry. And Chris says intention is huge. Yeah, I have to tell you, spot on,
Very
Chris.
much so.
Your intention and your purpose will drive. And I have to tell you, you don't even need to have the skill set to do what I do, or to do what Chris does, the Chris Fetchula, or Christopher, or Gary. I've witnessed people who are so intent on making a change to their current reality, they prayed it away. Okay.
Yeah. That's when you get a heightened emotion with a focused intention. The focused intention was to get rid of it through prayer. You do that with love in your heart, love, and the archetypes. And you would really know. Thank you, Nan.
Yeah. Thank you, Nanaba. She's amazing. She's so heart-centered. It's beyond. Beyond.
You can feel it.
She's a friend of mine, good friend of mine here in Georgia. All right, everybody, we are going to say goodbye. We love you all. Gary, lucky day for me that I got to meet you. So thank you. I'm going to end the stream now and say goodbye, everybody.